When life sends you an irrigation tank complete with all the plumbing fittings on it, it seems to me that you ought to make a piece of sculpture that celebrates plumbing. And so with 2/3 of the sculpture already handed to me, all I had to really add was the head, the neck, and the wrench. And the piece named itself. It was called When the Plumbers Are Out Looking for a Few Good Men. Well, I was an architect for most of my life, which means that form, texture, material, color, they really are the things that rock my boat. So when I can find the materials that bring them together, that really highlight the strength of, let's say, steel or concrete, bring them together in a way that has just a little bit of mystery and at the same time highlights the texture and the way the pieces can just complement each other and start to become a little bit more organic, a little less structural and at the same time very strong, then I feel that the sculpture was successful. It takes things that you see every day in my world and displays them in a way that most people would never combine them, but at the same time, when they look at it, they really get it. Just because you're supposed to haul trash to the dump, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't haul trash back from the dump either. This is the junk pile. For me, it's actually the resource center. This is where all the parts that I've been accumulating over the years get to rest until they get uncovered, unpiled, and it becomes apparent that they want to become part of a piece of sculpture. So every project starts back here. And as far as I'm concerned, this is really the treasure chest.
Hi, I'm Allegra Burke, and I'm creating a piece for the Cloverdale Sculpture Trail. I'm working with screening, and this is basically your aluminum screening for your front screen door. And I'm working on the third and final layer for each piece of clothing that will be hung in Cloverdale. The screening is fairly easy to cut. You can cut it with regular scissors, as I'm doing. I do need to wear gloves though because it is very sharp. I've poked myself more than once. These are the remnants, and the remnants go here in my collection for ruffles on the pinafore, waistbands, and a variety of other embellishments. What I'm doing is I'm finishing up the pinafore. And the only thing I'm debating about is whether or not to add pockets onto the pinafore. So I'm still working on the lace pattern, trying to decide what would look like lace on a slip. I think this looks pretty interesting and could definitely indicate a lace, but I'm not sure yet, so I'm not ready to attach at this point. So this will give you an idea of the dimension. The man's pants being the largest, the woman's slip, and the man's tank top, circa 1940s, 1950s. The little boy's overalls with the little pockets, the little girl's pinafore, without the pockets at this point. We've got a pair of socks here. With some detail here to indicate some lace, and then hopefully some lace on the bottom, also in a lavender color. I titled this piece Hung Up, based on a previous sculpture I created 12 years ago, entitled Cut Up and Hung Out, a contemporary piece made from cut-out jeans suspended between 7-foot metal poles. With Hung Up, I was inspired by the 40s and 50s,
when the cost of owning a tumble dryer was out of reach for most people. An era of complex overlapping lines where each garment might advertise social status, age, and family size. I began making and showing art in 2001, and here you will see a variety of my work. My love of three-dimensional objects does not preclude me from working in 2 dimensions, as you'll see here. As a fine artist, I paint, sculpt, work in fiber, installation art, handcrafted books, collage, and assemblage. I make art not only for its aesthetic value, but also because of a strong desire to create on a daily basis. This has led to my fondness for texture and a variety of materials such as plastic, paper, fabric, wood, and metal. Reclaimed materials are dear to my heart and a major focus both in my artwork and when I teach at the Santa Rosa Junior College, at Riley Street Art Supply, and privately in my Santa Rosa studio. Mail art is also a focus in my life, and I exchange postal mail art with artists all over the globe as a member of the International Union of Mail Artists.
I'm Beth Hartman. I'm one half of the hung up art piece that's over the lot in which you hold your farmer's market here in Cloverdale. So I like to work in a Mama San apron and slippers. This Mama San apron was my mother's from the 1970s. I'm almost finished with the 40 clothespins we're going to need for the project. You can see that some of them still need painting, but in fact, all these pieces were cut out individually and glued. My background in sewing and tailoring is really helpful in this project. I don't need it so much in making giant women's underpants, but it's going to be really useful in some of the other parts of it. So here's a little apron. I want to show you what I have in process. I've made ruffles which will be attached, and you see the sweet little sweetheart neckline. In fact, this apron is too big for most people, but we're making the pieces oversized. This is going to be a man's shirt. I used the proportions of my husband's shirts. He's a big guy, but nobody's this big. And here we've got the front and the back of it. And I'm about to cut it in half. Okay, this is really scary, but have to do it sometime. Shirt front, shirt back. I'm going to have to work on the collar, sleeves, attach those plackets, figure out something for buttons.
I have constructed half of these items of clothing art pieces. My collaborator, Allegra Burke, in her Santa Rosa studio, is making the other half of them. We need to paint them when they're done. They have 3 coats of paint, white paint each, and then they also have glow-in-the-dark paint on them. So then there's touch-up paint. You're going to see that here. My studio is in Sebastopol. So after this, I'm going to show you some of my other art pieces. The first one is column 1, column 2, made of steel. The second one, Varicello, one of the Varicello series, copper. This one is African Eve. It's made of copper and rosewood. This is poured and patinaed aluminum and bronze lips. Here we have one of the red alders with lichen and clouds. Grandpa's cushion, this is number 1 of the series, is made of steel. It's pounded and welded.
My
Sister, she works at a laundry. My father, he fiddles for gin. My mother, she takes in washing. Oh gosh, how the money rolls in. Oh gosh, how the money rolls in. My sister, she works at a laundry. My father, he fiddles for gin. My mother, she takes in washing. Oh gosh, how the money rolls in. Oh gosh, how the money rolls in.
NBC4's Today in LA at 4:30 starts now.
5:20 right now. A bright neon rainbow lit up the sky in downtown LA after being dark for more than a decade. Check it out here. Pretty cool. This is a 270-foot neon sculpture by light artist Michael Hayden. It's titled Generators of the Cylinder, and it hangs over the International Jewelry Center. just east of Pershing Square. It was revealed last night. It's made of bright, rotating shapes, crafted out of multicolored neon lights, and it reflects the movements of people walking by. Kind of cool, huh?
I like it, yeah.
My name is Hector Ortega. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm an Arizona native, 40 years young. My favorite thing of art is bringing something from nothing to fruition. I think everybody should do what they want to do and what truly speaks to them.
When life sends you an irrigation tank complete with all the plumbing fittings on it, it seems to me that you ought to make a piece of sculpture that celebrates plumbing. And so with 2/3 of the sculpture already handed to me, all I had to really add was the head, the neck, and the wrench. And the piece named itself. It was called When the Plumbers Are Out Looking for a Few Good Men. Well, I was an architect for most of my life, which means that form, texture, material, color, they really are the things that rock my boat. So when I can find the materials that bring them together, that really highlight the strength of, let's say, steel or concrete, bring them together in a way that has just a little bit of mystery and at the same time highlights the texture and the way the pieces can just complement each other and start to become a little bit more organic, a little less structural and at the same time very strong, then I feel that the sculpture was successful. It takes things that you see every day in my world and displays them in a way that most people would never combine them, but at the same time, when they look at it, they really get it. Just because you're supposed to haul trash to the dump, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't haul trash back from the dump either. This is the junk pile. For me, it's actually the resource center. This is where all the parts that I've been accumulating over the years get to rest until they get uncovered, unpiled, and it becomes apparent that they want to become part of a piece of sculpture. So every project starts back here. And as far as I'm concerned, this is really the treasure chest.
name is Hector Ortega, and I am a steel sculptor, maker of things. I started doing metalwork about 10 years ago. I've always made things since I was a kid, so this is just a reinterpretation of what I did as a child, but in a grown-up way. Drawing's fun and everything. I like doing that part of it. The making's hard, but the people's reactions and then the way it looks in space, to me, is probably the most gratifying thing. I think every time I make something, it's my favorite thing. So it's, you know, and then it moves on to the next one. So everything's a progression, you know. Sometimes I make stuff that I don't like, I cut them up, and I never make it again. Make sure no one sees it. But that's art, you know. There's 10 failures to 1 success. Everything's so thought out that, you know, there is no option to fail, so you get better at what you do. I think everybody should listen to what really truly speaks to them. As far as, you know, I'm happy doing it. It's not easy, whatever, but I wish people, you know, more people would do what they were destined to do.
Tell me about today, just a minute. Talk to me.
We're so happy.
You're smiling.
Yeah, we're happy it's close to done.
It was apparently pouring in Santa Rosa when they loaded up the truck. And so they had to completely redo the method to put it in the truck.
Wow.
See, there were 4 of us here to start. One of us had to go back for a meeting. And,
right. Well, it's lovely, ladies. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks to the city for jumping in to help.
Truly.